da sind wir bei den Skalarwellen und als nächstes werden Sie einen Vortrag hören, den ich schon letztes Jahr in Amerika beim Meeting der ICEM, der amerikanischen Gesellschaft, die sich um Subtle Energy bemüht, gehört habe, von Dr. Charles Crosby. Er ist Orthopäde. Ich werde ihn bitten, dass er zwei Sätze zu seiner Profession und zu seiner Tätigkeit sagt. Das ist angewandte Skalarwellentechnik.
How do you do? I'm Dr. Crosby. I'm a retired orthopedic surgeon, but we're not going to talk about surgery today. I'm going to spend some time showing you a new therapeutic modality. It follows some of the thinking that you've already been exposed to today, that is scalar energy. And it will open some new doors for you to allow you to do many things with energy medicine that are not possible with conventional methods. The story starts out, it's a bit of a story. First, how did this come about? How does it work? And then we'll give you some examples of how it has helped people. And then I'm going to give you an opportunity. You can be thinking about any kind of health problem that you might have and how it could be fixed with this method. This story starts about 9 years ago, and it leads up to TENSCAM that we're going to be talking about here. It starts in America, in a state called Missouri. This is a medical doctor who became disenchanted with the medical care that was available. He had 3 children that died from cholera. And as a result, he started a new form of medicine called osteopathic medicine. This is what he looked like. And one of his students, Dr. Sutherland, came on to the concept of cranial sacral work to help people with health problems. But this gentleman here, Dr. Becker, was instrumental in his book entitled Life in Motion. It was important because after reading the book, I came to understand that vibration of the body was very important to health, and that when you could reestablish the normal vibration, health automatically returned. This is another physician from a meeting in Chicago, Dr. Fulfert. And he said, gentlemen, in the 21st century, quartz crystals will be the key to medicine. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Dr. Fulfert's lecture was about 9 years ago. Here's just an example of what a quartz crystal might look like. For those of you with an interest in chemistry, it's very close to carbon. We're all carbon-based, and it's because of that we can affect the crystal to help each other. This development progressed. Here is an electronic device. It's a signal generator. It's in the category of a TENS unit. That's an electronic device that's sanctioned for pain control. And the important thing about it is that it works with the crystal, in conjunction with the crystal. Both of them are selected because they vibrate at 8 hertz. 8 hertz is 8 vibrations per second. Okay? All of our relatives grew up in an 8 hertz world, and I'm sure many of you know of Professor Otto Schumann and his findings that the average vibration of the planet Earth is close to 8 hertz. Most say 7.86. And this is the essence of what we're going to talk today. It's a very simple machine, very easy to use, and we're going to show you how to use it. It's connected, the two are connected. The little black box that I showed you and the crystal are connected electronically and held approximately half a meter away from the body. I know some of these ideas seem strange, but I'll explain where they came from in just a moment. The area of the problem is where the instrument is directed. It's pointed toward the area of the problem. And in a moment, I'll show you how you do that. But first, we should take a moment to think, because thinking is the key to the next step. This is a very unusual machine. It's not like your computer that's programmed with numbers. It's programmed directly by your mind. There is no intermediary. And that's what I mentioned in chemistry. Carbon is 12 and silicon is directly below it in the periodic table. And so they're only a couple of electrons apart, and that allows us, as carbon, to program the silicon crystal to do the work, and it's done this way. You exhale through your nose. You can pick it up, that's good. With the thought in mind, what do you want to fix? And it's that simple. It is very simple. No calculus involved here, no differentials. It's very simple to use. The exhaling process coordinates both sides of your brain and conveys it to the instrument. But without it, it does not work. So you exhale with intent to heal, and with the device we're discussing here, usually 2 minutes is required for the healing to occur. It's almost instantaneous. It's not a long wait. It's not several days, but it's usually very sudden. Each of us comes to believe something, sometimes because we're told a story. But stories sometimes get distorted, and we come to believe things best if it happened to us personally. Okay? And for my part, I had a torn cartilage in my left knee. Right here. It was torn for 12 years. One day I was running and the knee locked up. It would not bend anymore. I certainly couldn't run and I could barely walk. We had an early device at that time, a prototype if you will, but it did work. And I applied it here to the side of my knee for 3 minutes. And I immediately went out and ran 5K. Now, at that point in time, I'd been an orthopedic surgeon for 30 years, and that was totally impossible. But it happened to me. It was not a story, it was firsthand. So I came to believe that this instrument worked. We followed the healing process with ultrasound, which I'll show you in just a little while, to document what had happened and also to determine how long the optimal treatment time would be. Most medical modalities, they sometimes have trouble. They sometimes have complications. But this method is an exception to that. We have roughly 400 units around the world and roughly 4,000 treatments that go on each day. And this has been going on between 8 and 9 years. We have never had a complication or a side effect with this treatment method. It doesn't get hot. It's too big to swallow. And it just has not been a problem. You wonder about 8 Hertz. Well, where does 8 Hertz come from? I mentioned the Schumann resonance. That comes from right here in Germany. But there are other sources. It's not a deep, dark secret at all, but rather a well-known phenomena. It comes from cranial research and from independent researchers. In fact, NASA and the Department of Defense realize that it's important. I happen to live near where the space shots go up, and they put a little generator with the boys and girls before they go up so that they'll get optimal performance. So the 8 Hertz, the Schumann resonance, has been around a long time. I've told you some unusual things now as to how it's programmed, and that it's programmed by intention. Now we're going to spend just a little time showing you how you find the problem. You probably have an expression here in Germany for your personal space. I don't know what that expression is, but it's a distance around you, close around you like that. You let special people come in, and most people you keep them out. Well, the edge of this personal space could be referred to as the edge of your energy field or the edge of your aura. And we found when we put the device close to the skin, it worked pretty well. But when we moved it out to the edge of the energy field, as you can see there, it worked about 4 times better. So it's roughly half a meter away from the patient. And it worked better. We always use it that way now because it does work better. There is a method of determining the area that needs the help, the diseased area. It's called manual scanning. We'll get to that in just a moment. We have found that this device is acutely anti-inflammatory in function. That's to say that it almost immediately takes out pain, swelling, and redness that are associated with inflammation. And that, we believe, is what leads to the sudden results. To discuss a moment of how the problem areas are found, Jean Barral, he's an osteopathic physician in France, wrote a book called Manual Thermal Diagnosis. And in fact, this is a way of manually evaluating the energy field. Several of you who have been at our booth right next door have learned it. It only takes a couple of minutes. Everybody can do it, and it doesn't take a medical education to do it. But it does lead to where the problem area is, and now you have the answer. You know where to point the machine, and as I told you, you know how to program the machine. That's all there is to it. It is very simple to use, as I mentioned. No high-level math involved here. And after the treatment has occurred, you can pass your hand over the problem area. You don't need input from the patient, but you yourself can feel the differences and know that the job has been done. I'd like to give you a few examples. This was a physician in Florida who had a hernia. You can see the big orange egg up there. It wasn't quite that big. It was about the size of a hen's egg. Okay, but he was unable to go to surgery to have it worked on, and he really needed some help. So he came to our office, and he was treated once a week with the TENS-CAM machine and osteopathic therapy. And what you see up there is what happened, that this hen's egg-sized hernia closed in 1 month's time. Now that is just about as strange as my torn cartilage being fixed in 3 minutes. We are talking here about a very different modality for healing. This lady, she was dying about 7 years ago. She had a son who was a physician. He heard about our device. She had a leaky valve. She had a very loud heart murmur from a leaky valve. He treated her once a week for 4 weeks, again, from 18 inches away, no needles, no pills. At the end of a month, she didn't die. She went home. She's now 93 years old, and that's sort of interesting. But the most interesting part was the murmur was gone. The cardiologist could no longer hear the murmur. And when he told me this story, I had a lot of difficulty because, of course, that can't be done either. But then I thought, if a hernia could be closed like that, you might be able to tighten up a leaky heart valve without putting a pig valve in or a ceramic replacement like they usually do. And the fact that the murmur was gone, the cardiologist could no longer hear the murmur, speaks to the fact that that's what happened, and she's still alive. She didn't die from heart failure, as you would expect. We have had several, this is just an indication here, but there have been many patients that were failing with conventional methods for the treatment of cancers, all different kinds. And for those people, some who refused radiation and chemotherapy, to others who had failed with radiation and chemotherapy, their lives were salvaged, and they did the treatments themselves. We taught them, which only took a few minutes. This is just one example, small cell cancer of the lung that was inoperable, but since then we have had many others, including pancreas, metastatic breast cancer, and metastatic cancer to the brain, people who all present practitioners would said would have died, and yet they're alive and well and living normal lives. Again, very unexpected. Here's an example of a lady with a gallbladder problem. That ellipse that you see up there, the black ellipse, is the scan of her gallbladder. And to the right is the subsequent result. You'll notice the black is gone, and that's normal tissue over there. This slide's a little outdated. That's been 6 years ago. So her gallbladder problem was fixed in a period of 1 minute. No needles, no pills, nothing, except the TENS-CAM device. This lady, she's from Canada. She had trigeminal neuralgia, a nerve problem, for 13 years. She'd seen many specialists, and yet her pain continued. Her family doctor treated her twice, and I have a letter from her. She said, I suffered from trigeminal neuralgia, that's facial pain, for 13 years. And with 2 treatments, I'm pain-free. I'm a normal human being again. TENS-CAM has been found efficacious for many kinds of health problems that are refractory to all other therapeutic methods. It's pain-free, quick, and without complications. You know, we haven't said a word about scalar yet, have we? We haven't said a word about scalar energy. Well, what happens, this is a hypothesis, and it's supported. Oops, got a little bit ahead of ourselves there. It's supported by Dr. Oshman's book, Energy Medicine, A Scientific Basis, and the kind of results that Dr. Mile has shown us. They are the results of scalar energy. The little power box that I showed you, energy there is converted by the crystal into scalar energy, and that's what makes the magic happen. When I started a few minutes ago, I asked you to think if there were problems that you had that you would like to be rid of, pesky kinds of problems that make your life miserable. And I'd like to offer to you the opportunity. First, if you'd like to come to our booth, we can probably fix it for you in a couple of minutes. There also is a workshop tomorrow morning from 10:30 to 12, and we'll show you how it works. We'll let you use it, and you answer any questions. There'll be people there that are bilingual, not like me. I apologize. I can only speak one language, but they're bilingual in German. And at this point, I know some of these ideas are very unusual. I'd welcome any questions that you might have. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
We have a discussion round later in the evening.
Oh, okay.
Vielen Dank, Dr. Crosby. Ja, das ist jetzt sind wir mitten in der apparativen Energiemedizin. Eins dieser Geräte, ja, man hat da Probleme, sich vorzustellen, wie das funktioniert. Es ist auch nicht so, dass man sofort sehen kann, welcher Erfolg eingetreten ist, aber ich habe zum Beispiel gehört, dass ein Patient behandelt worden ist mit diesem TENSCAN und mit einem quantenmedizinischen Gerät wurde der Erfolg sofort wahrgenommen, aber eben mit einem quantenmedizinischen Gerät. Und das ist eine etwas problematische Situation, da muss jeder schauen, wie er mit dieser Ausgangslage fertig wird.